Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Fuzzy from Fuzzy Ghost Models here, and today we're going to use the AK Terrains concrete diorama mix to make a base for this particular aircraft and others. I want it to be generic. So because I've never done this before, I'm going to throw down some parchment paper on the workbench because I don't know how much of a mess I'm going to make. This could be really messy, but we'll find out. So throw that down, and I'm going to use a 12 by 12 wooden artist canvas. It's wood, and I'm going to spray the sides and corners with a metallic black. So there we have it all sprayed up and dry. I'm getting my items together. The AK stuff is apparently water soluble, so that's why I got a little thing of water there. I've got one of my very old paint knives that I'm going to use to spread it on. And before I do that, I want to tape the corners off so I don't got a nice demarcated line there. I'm not going to do it straight against the straight edge. You see I'm putting an angle on here, so it just adds a little more interest because symmetry is boring, and I'll just have the top a little off kilter than the sides. Those you with ADHD are going to hate me for that, but anyway, we're going to open this puppy up. It's brand new to me anyway, and like I said, never used this before. One of the challenges is pulling the seal off with rubber gloves on. So I managed to do it okay. Didn't look too much like an idiot trying to pull this off. Some of the material was stuck to the top, so I'm going to scrape that off. And it was a slightly drier than the stuff in the tub, but not too bad at all. So I'll scrape it off onto the top of the base. And this stuff has the same consistency as the Betty Crocker ready-made icing that you can buy. I don't know if anyone's used it or eaten a tub of it on their own, but it's the same consistency, which makes it really easy to use. It spreads really nicely. I use a little bit of water to help with that, to make it a little more, a little softer. Add some time to it as well. I don't know how long this stuff takes to dry, and I didn't want it to start to crumble as I'm working on it. So again, first time using it. If you have any tips or tricks, please let me know. If you have used it, that would be helpful. So here I am. I got a nice layer, fairly consistent layer on it. I didn't know how deep to make it, so again, this was probably 1.5 millimeters deep, not too deep. I didn't know if I made it too deep, if it would take forever to dry and then crack or crumble, but anyway, that's what I ended up doing. Now, I want to make it nice and flat because it's concrete and there shouldn't be any waves in it at all. So I found this little bin I got from the dollar store, and I thought, oh, that looks like a straight edge. I'm going to wet it up and see if I can make a straight, level concrete pad on this. And of course, like a dummy, I should have checked ahead of time to see if it was actually straight. And nope, wasn't. So I'm going to pull that material off, work it back in. And then I thought, what am I going to use for a straight edge? I don't have a ruler that big. So then I thought, well, I wonder if I can use the paint knife to make it straight and flat. And I tried for quite some time with a little water to try and make it as smooth as I possibly can. However, you can imagine what the result is. It was never good enough for what I was looking for. So try and try. There's always some kind of lines in there. So I thought, all right, I have an idea. Went to the garage. I finished a few basements in my time. I've done drywall work with mud and stuff. So I thought, you know what? Put a little extra on the top here. We'll close that up, and then I went to the garage and I grabbed my handy dandy drywall trowel. I think this is a pretty sharp idea, if I do say so myself. We just skim it along, and first pass it was like, okay, I'm on the right track. Good job, Fuzzy. And took a few turns to try and get it smooth and even. And you can see right now it sort of looks like flattened stucco. There's some scabby places on there. We don't want that. So I'm going to try a little lower and a little more pressure. Lower angle, more pressure. Trying to get completely smooth and flat. And that worked pretty good. little stuff along the edge because it's not quite wide enough to cover the entire board. So I'm going to try this again, and on the one side there was a little bit of a ridge, and I, like an idiot, because it's been a long time since I've actually done any drywall, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I can just turn this aside, and like, nope, don't do that. Anyway, figured it out, and was very happy with the result. Came out nice and smooth, no ridges or lines or anything, so yay! Very good. Let me know if you think that was a good idea or not, or if you got a better way to do it. So then I decided to pull the tape off while it was wet, in case when it was dry I ended up pulling chunks out of the side, and then just use a little water to clean up any edge or anything I got on the sides there. So from this point, I'm going to, while it's wet, I'm going to put the lines for the concrete pads. Now you don't see it here, but I did have the ruler out with a measuring tape, and I decided to do 2 inch by 2 inch, and I put little marks in the surface, so I'm not doing this by eyeballing it. And some videos I've seen where you're supposed to do this with a scriber after it's dry. I wanted to try this because this seemed a little quicker and a little easier to get straight. But tell me what you think. Have you done this before? What method do you use? Do you use while it's wet, or do you use it while it's after it's dry? I'd like to know. Next one I'll try it dry and see what happens. Anyway, get my 2 inch by 2 inch squares, which I just kind of randomly decided on because I want this to be generic, and I have no idea what it should be, right? In what scale. So this kind of looked good to my eye. So now I'm just using a little brush with some water to remove a few little greeblies and goobers that have popped up from doing the thing, using the knife again to try and keep the nut lines defined and straight. And yeah, lots of little work. It was a lot of fun to experiment with this, so I highly recommend you try it. So I have this sculpting blade, and I'm just going to add some cracks to the surface of the concrete because I want this airfield to look like it's been used. It's not pristine, but well used. A little old, so I'm doing some corners here, doing some cracks in the concrete. Again, I don't know if they would turn out better if this surface was dry and I was using a sharp tool to add these. I don't know. Again, that'll be on the next one. This one's generic, so yeah. So just continue on doing little touch-ups here and there, little cracks in the sides, little crumbly bits. 24 hours later. So I give it time to dry. It looks pretty good to my eye. There are some raised bits though, both from adding the cracks and using the trowel. I think if I do use a trowel next time, I'll make sure it's wet, so maybe it doesn't hold on to the material and pull it up when you're moving it. But you can see how some of the stuff is raised. So I'm going to grab that sculpting tool again, and what I'm going to do is just going to scrape. It's going to scrape those high spots off, and you can see they just crumble right off. So it's kind of neat working with that. It's pretty easy. The little goobers coming off, and you can see how when you scrape it, it leaves a lighter mark, like a white mark on it. But if you dip your finger in water and run it across there, it totally disappears, and it's going to be painted anyway, so I'm not too concerned about it. And just go over the entire board with some of the raised parts that I don't like. There we go, doing some more Zen work. Again, this might be easier if I did this after it was dry, put the lines in, but I don't know. So on the next one, we'll have a try. But yeah, just continue on getting all the raised areas off, and all the chunks don't really matter because it's going to be rough edges anyway. It's going to be old concrete. Continuing on. I gotta say, I had a lot of fun doing this. Good learning experience. And there we have it. It's all completed. Now all we have to do is paint it, and that'll be part 2. So stay tuned for that. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when that's up. And I really appreciate everyone's support. You can go buy me a coffee or go over to Patreon and support me over there. And I appreciate everyone joining me. Keep your eyes open for part 2 when we paint this puppy up and get to the final stage. All right, see you everyone. Ciao for now.